Whoa there, this is part 2 of a 3-part video. You have watched part 1, right? You wouldn't lie to me. Well, you do have a trustworthy face. At least, I think that's your face. If not, click the link down in the description. Anyway, here we go.
So why is this important now? The blessing and the curse about that human desire for pattern finding is that if we don't see a pattern clearly, people will fill in the pieces with stories. Let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, quick side note. This story comes from this journal down in the description, and this comes from Evolutionary Psychology. Now, there are critics within the science community of evolutionary psychology, and the basic critique is that it's very easy to join the dots if you're joining them backwards. You know what they say? Hindsight is 2020.
So, does anyone want to talk about the,
Nope.
Okay, Schrodinger's politician?
Meow, I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of an elephant. Either way, it would be irrelevant.
Here's a quick list of do's and don'ts for science communicators. Number 1, do address the elephant in the room. Here's the thing, we're living through a global pandemic, and in a global pandemic, people panic and are stressed. We can't blame them. In times of high stress and low trust, people turn to stories. Patterns that are not filled in, clearly presented and represented to the general public. The gaps in that pattern will be filled with stories. You can't be upset at people filling those gaps in desperate times with a simple, engaging, maybe crazy story. Scientists are fantastic, but you have to understand your audience. Here, now, 2020, there is a lot of stress, there's a lot of distrust, and there's a lot of panic. Your audience, right now, your audience is going to be somewhere on this scale. If your audience are anxious or fearful, or worse yet, in self-protective mode, which a lot of us are, that you are going to come across deaf ears, blind eyes, and folded arms. Think of it this way. Have you ever tried to talk to a friend who's just gone through a breakup or something really horrible has happened in their life? The first 10 minutes, you're just not going to get through to them with logic and reason alone. You have to acknowledge how they feel first. When you acknowledge how they feel, you build trust. Doing science communication in 2020, the first thing you do is acknowledge how your audience are feeling. If your audience are self-protective, fearful, anxious, suspicious, doubting, your words will fall on deaf ears, blind eyes, and folded arms. You need to talk to them directly, as a human, as a person first. Then, arms will open up, ears will open up, eyes will open up, legs will open up. This is why science needs to learn to embrace storytelling. It's not about dumbing down, it's about rebuilding that connection, rebuilding that trust, and plugging in those holes of understanding. You don't want to see my hole of understanding. That's so stupid. Number 2, we cannot separate science from the world of economics and the world of politics. Here's how science communication is meant to work. The idea here is that there's a conversation between experts, governments, and commerce, trade and industry. But what happens when people don't trust experts anymore? Bam! Distrust. Governments. Bam! Distrust. Trade, industry, commerce, the economy. Bam! Distrust. Without trust in those institutions, with political and social upheaval and distrust and fear, You, as the experts, need to find the way to communicate more directly. People want to communicate with people, particularly in times of high stress and confusion and well-deserved institutional distrust. You need to learn to communicate with your audience. You can build up that trust. You can acknowledge how they're feeling. Once you've done that, you can really turn it into a dialogue. In short, what we need to learn to do is to talk with and not at people. Number 3, whether you like it or not, you represent an institution. It might be a university. It might be a research thing. Like it or not, people at face value are going to think that you are a representative of an institution, which is true. We're all part of communities, we're all part of institutions, in one way or another. University, governmental, social, whatever. What you need to do is to break through that ice and show people that you are talking with them as a person, not as a spokesperson or the mouth of an institution. Here's the thing, science isn't simple. Science is all about the unknown, the unsure, the uncertain, and it's about discovery. Storytelling is simple, engaging, and direct. In great times of uncertainty, the last thing we want is even more uncertainty. Curiosity cannot exist in times of high stress. In order to get people to be curious again and be okay with the unsure, we need to embrace storytelling. Stories are so powerful that once people latch on to a particular story, it's really hard for them to let go. You might understandably be a bit concerned about using storytelling with science. In uncertain times, people turn to the simplest, most engaging story they can. When there are gaps in understanding, high stress, low trust, storytelling will fill up that vacuum. And the stories that fill those gaps can be really harmful. Storytelling has a dark side. And that dark side is conspiracy theories.
Yep, that's right. It's an end card. There are more parts to these videos though. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when they come out. And I promise I will satiate your endless bloodlust. Bloodlust? That doesn't sound right. Brenda, you sure about this bloodlust bit in the script? What's that? You don't really exist? Ah, yeah, me neither.